this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
With no fees or minimums on checking accounts, it's no wonder the Capital One bank guy is so passionate about banking with Capital One. If he were here, he wouldn't just tell you about no fees or minimums. He'd also talk about how most Capital One cafes are open 7 days a week to assist with your banking needs. Yep, even on weekends. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One, N.A., member FDIC.
Running a business is hard enough. Don't make it harder with a dozen apps that don't talk to each other. One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. That's software overload. Odoo is the all-in-one platform that replaces them all. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, fully integrated, easy to use, and built to grow with your business. Thousands have already made the switch. Why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Brought to you by the reinvented 2012 Camry. It's ready. Are you? Welcome to Stuff You Should Know from HowStuffWorks.com.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark. There's Charles W. Chuck Bryant, and that makes this Stuff You Should Know. You paranoid or something?
I just looked over my shoulder for Chuck Bryant.
No, that's...
That guy's coming after me. The real Chuck Bryant.
Don't worry about him.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's taken care of.
Yeah.
Good. I can go back to being Armin Tanzarian.
Supposedly that was the worst one ever. That's what Matt Groening said. I think he told
Worst
me.
episode?
So, Matt, you told me once that Matt Groening was asked if there was one Simpsons that he could just take a mulligan on and just have not exist. You told me this.
I don't think I did, because I've never heard that.
Oh, well,
that's disappointing, because I love that episode.
That's the episode that I based my episode on.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation.
Oh, you know me.
All right. Well, you just make up Matt Groening quotes, right?
I guess so.
Chuck.
Yes.
Speaking of TV, did you ever see the season 3 episode of Magnum P.I. called 40 Years from Sand Island?
Yes.
No, you haven't.
I've seen them all, dude.
Oh.
Tell me what it was about, and I'll verify that. But I
just said yes.
Well, I mean, I saw every Magnum, so I assume I've seen it.
Well, this one starts out in a Japanese internment camp on Oahu called Sand Island.
Yeah.
And there's a murder. A guard, one of the guards, murders this internee, I guess.
Uh-huh. Not an intern. So that would mean she worked at the camp for free.
Right, exactly.
Got college credit.
Although there are some similarities between internment camps and internments.
Yeah.
But this internee is murdered by this camp guard, and Higgins is writing a book 40 years later about this incident, and some mysterious things start to happen. Somebody's out to whack him, so Magnum's got to solve the case.
Who was Higgins, the guy who killed the person? Did it haunt him years later?
No, I don't remember how he learned about it, like maybe from hearsay or something like that, and he was doing research on it. I don't know why he was writing a book on it.
I don't remember the episode.
Ta-da.
So there.
40 Years from Sand Island, season 3. It was a good one. Like, they'd really hit their stride by then.
Oh, yeah.
But the crazy thing is, Sand Island really existed.
Oh, okay. Really?
It was a Japanese internment camp, and it didn't make this list, strangely enough.
Where was it? It
Hawaii,
was
on Oahu.
Yeah, that wasn't in here, was it?
No, but it was the main internment camp where Japanese and Japanese Americans were interned during World War II. Because something that I think probably especially a lot of our younger listeners haven't found out yet, the United States interned a number of its citizens unconstitutionally during World War II.
Yeah.
You know that one Simpsons where it's the soccer one?
Give me more.
Well, they go to see this their professional soccer team or whatever, and they're in the soccer stadium. Marge looks around and goes, "I can't believe this used to be an internment camp." True.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah, there were a lot of shelters, temporary places set up, and a lot of people were moved through them. There's a lot of misery and heartache. Let's talk about it.
2 Simpsons and a Magnum in the first 6 minutes.
Nice.
That is stellar.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about it.
All right.
Josh, on December 7th, 1941, very awful thing happened. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii.
Surprise.
By surprise. Didn't know it was coming. And Michael Bay ultimately made a pretty bad movie about it. I actually went to see that and left after the attack just because that's what I was there for.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need to see the love story attached.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. President FDR, at the time, said, we're going to relocate about 100,000 Japanese and Japanese Americans, put them in what he called concentration camps.
Yeah,
You wouldn't use that term today for these.
No, they're associated with Nazis.
Exactly.
And Jane McGrath, who wrote this, went to a lot of length to differentiate the two, don't you think?
A little unnecessarily. I mean, I don't think anyone thought of them as the same thing.
It was a fine article, Jane.
It was. But that was not how it started, is it, Josh? He started out a little slower, and it sort of grew from there.
Yeah, well, there was apparently intelligence that even before the attack on Pearl Harbor, on the Pacific coast, especially in areas like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, there were spy rings of Japanese and Japanese Americans being set up. So right after the attack, they rounded up about 1,500 aliens that they suspected of possibly being engaged in espionage. And not just Japanese, but also like Italians, Italian Americans, Germans, and German Americans. Yeah. The people who brought us Liberty cabbage and stuff like that. Yeah. Right?
So he reviews these people, finds out what they're all about.
He has them paraded in front of his desk. He eyes them. He's like, that guy looks okay. Not that one.
Well, that's sort of what happened. And some of the aliens were released, and some were sent to temporary detention camps. Canada, if you think you're off the hook, you're not.
Yeah.
Because you did the same thing.
Yeah, 20,000 people.
Uh-huh.
And I wonder how much of that had to do with Canada bowing to pressure from the U.S.
I wonder.
Which makes it even more shameful.
On us?
On both parties,
yeah,
but
you're right.
yeah.
So a couple of months after Pearl Harbor, and this was, I guess, after the review of the 1,500, right?
Yes.
That's when he issued the Executive Order 9066, which gave the military the power to create zones. And what it says here is zones in which any or all persons may be excluded. So that means
they did it like really indirectly.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought.
They basically said, like, you can't live here, you can't own property here. Mm-hmm. At the very least, you can't be here right now.
But you happen to live here.
Right.
Oops.
The military has designated this like as an exclusionary zone. But we have this free housing over here that you can come take advantage of. And I think that's how it was kind of sold at first, but it became very obvious that the Japanese didn't have a choice in moving to these camps. That's the impression I have.
That's the impression I have too.
So let's talk about them. They set up first assembly areas, which were temporary camps from February until the summer, right?
Yeah, first generation and second generation Japanese Americans.
Issei, which is first generation, and Nisei, which is second generation.
Yeah,
right?
and they actually got folks from both coasts, although it was largely West Coast.
Yeah. It was mostly West Coast because it's much closer to Japan than the East Coast is.
Yeah, of course. And that's what the intel supposedly said that they were living anyway.
And they were also, I saw a government propaganda film from when they started this. Like,
oh, really?
The camps were being built, so it would have been made in like 1942. And basically they were saying like, we just, there's just too many Japanese in these, large populations. They're not spread out because they left people alone in Atlanta and Dallas and New York generally because they were diffuse. One of the reasons they went after the West Coast is because there were huge concentrations of Japanese Americans and Japanese that they were just worried about, them coming up with problems.
Sure.
That's what the propaganda film said.
Right. They said problems?
They didn't say problems.
Oh, okay.
That was what they're conveying.
One of the problems here with how this went down was they only got a couple of weeks' notice at most. They had to leave their homes with whatever they could carry and go to these assembly centers.
Can I tell you one more thing from the propaganda film?
Oh yeah.
So when they show them putting up signs that might as well say like "Yuden, get out,"
Right.
It was basically like if you are Japanese or second generation Japanese, you can't be here. You have to go meet here at this time, and we'll process you. And basically, processing meant here are some government enlisted lawyers. And they're going to help you basically sell your home and business and whatever for a loss in most cases.
Right.
You don't have a choice.
Now, did they force all that or strongly encourage them as far as like selling their
they forced it, but this propaganda film, which I recommend anybody seeing, I can't remember what it's called, but it's only like 10 minutes long, but man, they pack a lot into it.
Really?
They say like the Japanese and Japanese Americans are happy to help out. They're happy to prove their loyalty by selling their possessions.
Right.
Basically, they're doing their part by getting off of the West Coast. That's how this
Right.
propaganda film made it seem. It's very interesting. But yeah, a lot of them were forced to sell their stuff, often less than market value.
Right. So they're starting off on a bad note to begin with.
Yes.
And this is just with the temporary housing. Then in late summer 1942, they had finally set up 10 of these internment camps ready, open for business. Mm-hmm. The WRA, the War Relocation Authority, put up places in California, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Arkansas, and I guess Hawaii.
And Hawaii, yeah.
Even though that didn't make this list.
Support for this show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt, from renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year. You can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, buys one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/SYSK and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/SYSK. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing, Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors, LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated Assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Every great idea deserves the power to bring it to life. Meet the all-new Dell XPS laptop, the perfect combination of style, power, and performance, designed to elevate everything you do. With its modern, ultra-thin design, it's as stunning as it is functional. And the battery? It's built to last all day long, from that first sip of coffee to your evening wind down without missing a beat. And when it comes to performance, the XPS doesn't just keep up, it leads the way. Whether you're tackling your biggest projects or bringing your creative vision to life, it's built for editing photos, mixing tracks, and designing masterpieces. Powered by the Series 3 Intel Core Ultra processors, the XPS gives you the freedom to create without limits all day long. The Dell XPS proves there's no need to compromise. Style, power, and reliability come together in one expertly crafted machine. Check out the all-new Dell XPS at dell.com/XPS.
Sand Island.
And they were guarded. They were barbed wired. They had hospitals. They had basically everything you need to live. Schools, little forms of government.
Yeah, there was no. Basically, they put them in the camps, guarded them so they weren't allowed to leave or come in and out freely.
Yeah.
But inside the camps, it was up to the Japanese to form their own democratic self-government. And they did. It's kind of like block captains and things like that.
Subpar conditions.
Yeah, definitely.
Even the WRA said that at the time. Kind of like army barracks, one family per room. You got your cot, you got your mattress, you got a stove and a light, you got some blankets.
Right. The problem was, or one of the problems was that these barracks, let's say there were 5 apartments in the barracks, they were separated by 4 walls, and the walls didn't go all the way to the ceiling. So there was like no privacy in a very private culture.
Oh, yeah, sure. So they started wrecking their cultural heritage right off the bat, basically.
Pretty much.
Public laundry, public bathroom facilities, mess hall. So they got a small allowance of money for clothes, personal expenditures, and the like.
Right.
But it was pretty dang low. And so if they wanted a more comfortable life in there, they would dip into your personal savings.
Right.
So that started wrecking them on the financial front as well.
Yeah, and the low wages also had a strange indirect effect, Chuck, in that the parents and the kids who were old enough to work were making the same amount of money.
Yeah.
One of the things that, one of the ways parents exert control over their children is like,
I make more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not, we make the exact same amount of money.
So that wrecked the family home front a little bit more.
It definitely eroded authority among parents.
Sure. And, I mentioned that they could dip into their savings. Not the case with first generation Japanese, because their assets were actually frozen.
Yeah.
So they didn't even have the option to spend their own money.
The issei.
That they earned and put in the bank.
Right.
Okay. So, like you said, they tried their best to do normal things, set up like baseball leagues, evidently. So, the Japanese love baseball. Yeah,
I saw an art exhibit at a Smithsonian, what was it, the Renwick Gallery in D.C. And they had, it was called Garmin, the art of the internment camps.
Really?
And a couple of things they had were some like handmade baseball jerseys for the leagues that they set up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It was very cool. There's a lot of really interesting stuff there.
Yeah, I bet. Was that still on display right now, or?
It just ended January 30th. I looked it up. I was going to tell everybody to go. Everyone in D.C. at least.
Well, I bet it'll set up somewhere else, so keep an eye out for it.
Fingers crossed.
One of the other ways that sort of wrecked the cultural family front was that Japanese traditionally ate together as a family time, meal time. And now that the little boys and girls were living close to their friends, they were really hot to go over and eat dinner with their friends.
Sure.
So that fractured the family even more.
Yeah. Plus, also, if you didn't want people to know you were arguing with your wife, you better not do it in the barracks because, again, the walls didn't go all the way to the top.
That's right.
There was just a lot more insight into your neighbor's private life than the Japanese were ever comfortable with. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think any culture would be fully comfortable with those conditions.
Right. I agree.
But yeah.
So let's move forward to 1943 when the WRA says, you know what, maybe we should let some of these folks out to go to school and work, and let's make a questionnaire and base their release on the results of this.
Yeah.
So you have that questionnaire
in
your possession, right?
There's a lot of personal information like, where were you born, can you give 5 character references, 5 work references?
Right.
And there's some other kind of odd questions like name some newspapers that you subscribe to or regularly read. What are your hobbies and interests? Would you volunteer for the Army Nurse Corps? Would you denounce the Emperor of Japan? What are some other hobbies of your interest to you?
They just slipped that denouncing Emperor of Japan in there?
Yeah, and a lot of people hopped at this opportunity. They saw what it was, and they said, sure, totally. I'm an American citizen anyway, so yeah, that's fine. I'll denounce the Emperor of Japan. One thing I don't think we really touched on, Chuck, there was 112,000 people who were relocated to these internment camps.
Yeah.
7,000 of them were, no doubt about it, American citizens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there were a lot of people who were happy to sign this Pledge of Allegiance, basically, or Pledge of Loyalty. And those who did were released. There were a lot of people who took it the opposite way.
Well, they were released just to go to work in school at the time, right? They weren't released, were they?
I think, I think that did gain them early release or release before other people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were allowed to leave for work or school, but they weren't released.
Oh, okay.
At that time, at least.
Okay. There were some other people who took great offense to these questionnaires, and refused to sign them. And there was actually a big protest at Tule Lake. Even
if they were citizens? American citizens refused to?
Yeah, there were actually people who renounced their citizenship in the face of being forced to sign this loyalty oath on top of already being a citizen.
Right, sure.
So they actually verbally renounced their citizenship at Tule Lake. There was a mass protest. And there was a guy named Jimmy Mirikitani who had a pretty cool documentary made about him, the Cats of Mirikitani. He was at Tule Lake. He denounced his citizenship. He was finally released from the camps when they were closed, and basically went to be homeless. And he didn't realize that his citizenship had been restored in 1959, and as recently as 2002, he still thought he was an illegal alien living on the streets.
Almost like a Japanese straggler.
Kind of, yes. Yeah, he was. That's exactly what he was like. Was a Japanese straggler of the camps, basically.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's worth seeing.
But
Very
he stayed in the
heartwarming. You'd love it.
He stayed in the United States, though?
In New York. He's actually, he was a master artist.
Really?
He was really good. Yeah, you should check it out.
I will.
But yeah, most, if not all of the people who were in this protest at Tule Lake and renounced their citizenship, there was this one lawyer who went back and said, dude, they did this under duress. They shouldn't have been in the camps in the first place.
Right.
Let's restore their citizenship. And I think most, if not all, had their citizenship restored.
Years later.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, Josh, let's go to 1944, December. This finally comes to an end after a lot of public outcry. They were allowed to leave. But they couldn't exactly just jump back into their regular life in many cases because a lot of times their business or property was taken over or neglected in shambles at this point.
Yeah.
And
an alarming amount of money.
Yeah, $400 million in financial losses by the Japanese internees. In 2009, that's about $5.2 billion.
Yeah.
But I think lower now because I looked up a different calculator. It said 4.8. So maybe it went down since 2009. I don't know. Deflation. Good. So what's the problem here? Why is this a big deal? Why should I care? Is this constitutional?
Well, yeah, it is. It was extremely unconstitutional. A panel later found out, right?
And of course, I was being facetious with that, by the way.
Of course. There was this girl named Mitsui Endo who was a 22-year-old. She was born and raised in Sacramento. Had never been to Japan. I don't think she could speak or read Japanese. And she was interned at one of these camps.
Unbelievable.
And she basically appealed. She appealed for a writ of habeas corpus, which we've talked about before.
Smart lady.
It got denied. She started appealing up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court got a hold of it and was like, this woman should be granted unconditional release immediately. And that opened the floodgates for every other U.S. citizen who was interned there.
Right.
And then eventually that coupled with the popular outcry against it, because people, even while it was going on, everyday Americans were saying, this is horribly wrong.
Yeah, it was pretty controversial.
And so finally, even before the war ended, the camps were shut down.
Yeah.
But this wasn't before some people died.
Oh, well, are you talking about the on the islands?
That's different.
Okay.
But we can talk about that.
Well, let's talk about both.
At the art exhibit I was telling you about at the Renwick Gallery, there was this guy named Shiura Obata, and he did some really cool ink illustrations. But one of the ones he did was an old man doubled over, and there's a dog nearby. And there's the fence and then the mountains in the background. And if you read the caption beneath of the explanation, it's of an actual event that took place. An old man who is deaf was chasing a stray dog trying to catch it. And apparently a guard was shouting at him to get away from the fence. Old man was deaf, didn't hear it. The guard shot him to death.
This is in one of the camps?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, like, if this is unconstitutional, it never should have happened, then just that alone makes it horrific, you know?
Yeah, murder.
But then there were a lot of other people who died of just deplorable conditions in the Aleutian Islands, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just rounded up in the United States, as we found out when we read this. Japan was, apparently we got word that Japan was going to attack the Aleutian Islands, Kiska and Attu. So before they did so, we said, let's get in there and round up, I guess, was it locals?
Yeah, the the Unangaks?
Yeah, what I don't understand is why, I mean, they weren't Japanese American, they weren't American. Why did we round them up?
For their own protection, supposedly. Well, I think not even supposedly. I think that was the whole thing, that we were pretty sure the Japanese were going to capture this island, which they did. So we evacuated them from their home.
Okay. Well, sadly, what happened, though, was 881 of these Unangaks were rounded up, and they saw U.S. servicemen burning their houses and their villages down.
So the Japanese couldn't use them.
And
that was just when they were setting sail for their new home. We're like, you can't stay here, and we're going to take you someplace where a lot of you are going to die, okay? So they took them further into Alaska and basically used an old fish cannery, an old fish salting place.
Yeah, a herring saltery.
and then an old mine of some sort.
Yeah, gold mine camp that was like rotting out, supposedly.
These were the temporary quarters for these people. And out of 881, Chuck, 54 people died of things like consumption, the damp, TB, which are all, I think, the same thing.
Well, they didn't have plumbing. They didn't have electricity. They had no toilets. They didn't have, the food was poor. They didn't have winter clothes. And the water was tainted.
Yeah.
And this is where they sent them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt, from renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year. You can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then, you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like EFTs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC. SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Every great idea deserves the power to bring it to life. Meet the all-new Dell XPS laptop, the perfect combination of style, power, and performance, designed to elevate everything you do. With its modern ultra-thin design, it's as stunning as it is functional. And the battery? It's built to last all day long, from that first sip of coffee to your evening wind down without missing a beat. And when it comes to performance, the XPS doesn't just keep up, it leads the way. Whether you're tackling your biggest projects or bringing your creative vision to life, it's built for editing photos, mixing tracks, and designing masterpieces. Powered by the Series 3 Intel Core Ultra processors, the XPS gives you the freedom to create without limits all day long. The Dell XPS proves there's no need to compromise. Style, power, and reliability come together in one expertly crafted machine. Check out the all-new Dell XPS at dell.com/XPS.
So the Unangax basically said, okay, well, we're just going to take matters into our own hands. They built themselves their own quarters. They raised a church there. It was pretty inspiring. And again, this one wasn't like internment against, I guess it was against their will, but it was supposedly for their own safety.
Well, that's what they said about the Japanese Americans, too, we should point out.
Right, and we should also say, let's talk about that panel in 1988 that found that that was not the case at all.
Yeah, well, before we move on, though, we should say that the Unangax, 25 of the men actually joined the American Armed Forces, despite the fact that they were rounded up and put in these camps, and some of them died. Mm-hmm. They still supported America to the extent that they would fight and die for the country. Pretty amazing.
That is very amazing.
All right, so now we flash forward once again through our little time machine to 1988, when redress payments were basically on the table.
Right. In 1980, Congress created the Commission on Wartime Relocation and Internment of Civilians, and they came to their decision in 1988, right? And their decision or their judgment on whether or not it was constitutional or what was the motivation behind it was that it was racism, pure and simple. Racism and wartime hysteria, right?
Yeah.
And basically they said, yes, there was evidence that there was espionage networks on the West Coast among Japanese and Japanese Americans, but the people who were calling the shots about internment didn't know that at the time. So we owe these people a lot of money, is what they came up with.
Right.
How much was it in reparations?
So I got some stats for you.
Okay.
82,210 people got paid, 20,000 apiece. Now remember when I said that the financial losses, let's go back to 1988 at least, because that's when they were paid. 1988, that would have been $2.6 billion lost. Mm-hmm. $1.2 billion was paid out. So less than half of what they lost, they ended up getting back. So in other words, the 20 grand didn't cover,
squat.
Didn't cover squat. And 1992, The Civil Liberties Act of 1988 was put into effect. They released another $400,000 for payments. And part of the deal then was, and I think this was the first Bush signed this one, the 10 internment sites were made historical landmarks.
Yeah.
And in 1988, the official apology, that was part of the deal, was the money, an official apology, and then funds for an educational foundation. This is what they wanted.
Yeah.
They got it. Woohoo.
Yeah. Well,
I wish I could say that's a happy ending.
I think probably the better legacy of it, though, is that we very sadly learned a really hard lesson, and that is that we can't get swept up in racial hysteria and profiling among our citizens.
Yeah.
In the midst of an emergency. And I think that I wonder if that helped calm people, keep heads cooler following 9/11. You know?
I know one thing, though, is that they never found any Japanese American guilty of espionage in World War II.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Yeah.
There you have it. Japanese internment camps. Probably one located near you, especially if you live in the western states or Arkansas or on Sand Island in Oahu, right? Yeah. Or if you've ever been to Santa Anita Racetrack.
I have.
That was an assembly camp.
Was it really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I won some money on some ponies there one time.
Oh, there were Japanese people who were kept there against their will.
I didn't know that.
It's true. If you want to learn more about Japanese internment camps, type in internment, INTERNMENT, in the search bar at howstuffworks.com. That means it's time for listener mail.
All right, Josh, we're going to catch people up on our Sergeant John Walker.
Oh, yeah.
Because we did all this on Facebook, but we didn't really do it on the show. So many people might not know that Staff Sergeant Walker was shot in the line of duty in Afghanistan. Pretty severely. It was not a flesh wound, as they say. And I won't get into the details of how that went down. We'll pick up afterward with this email. Guys, the first couple of days after, I was in my own coma from shell shock and a concussion. Doctors put me on heavy meds due to surgeries and the pain. When they went to test my brain functions on the Wonder machine, due to the meds, it basically showed me as brain dead, as my body was not reacting to the stimuli. Don't worry, folks. He's clearly writing this email, so things turned out okay, which we're getting to. After I was out of the coma, I was in too much pain, so they put me in a medically induced coma, which basically meant just more meds. Afterwards, they tested the MRI again, showed some problems, but they said it was only temporary. Through this all, my brother-in-law sent me to your Facebook page, and if you remember, I posted this. Lots of people logged on, and regardless of political affiliation and how they feel about the war, they were very concerned about Walker, which is pretty cool. I was not able to finish reading the comments on the post you guys made. I kept tearing up from all the heartwarming comments from the strangers who didn't even know me. It's really nice of you guys to do this, plus really nice of everyone who posted. I found it very kind that people posted outside of that post and kept asking for updates. So moving on, he's in the States now, recovering pretty well. He has just been promoted again from Staff Sergeant all the way to Sergeant Major, and he says he will be promoted to Second Lieutenant and will receive the Purple Heart, the Army Distinguished Service Cross, the Soldier's Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Army and Air Force Presidential Unit Citation, Army Good Conduct Medal, Army Service Ribbon, Army Overseas Service Ribbon, National Defense Service Medal. So he's getting loaded up on his chest here for being shot.
Which has just been sewed up.
Exactly. I've been placed on medical leave. My family wants me to discharge as this is my 4th stint, but I will not do it. There's danger out there and people need protection. I will be providing protection. I plan on one more tour. And then after the Army, I plan to join law enforcement. So he's doing awesome. He's on the Facebook page a lot. He, if you remember from many months ago, he was the one who was teaching English to the kids who spoke Farsi through our podcast. Mm-hmm. And he said a lot of these children from the school came and visited him in the hospital and made him cards and stuff. And so, pretty cool story.
That is a great story.
So we just want to catch everyone else out there who's not on the Facebook page up.
He's all over the place, too. He's on Twitter as well.
Yeah, and he started actually a Stuff You Should Know Army page on Facebook as well.
Yeah. He's poaching our peeps.
No, he's a good guy.
Yes, he is a very good guy. Thank you for keeping us up to date, Staff Sergeant Walker. And we're glad you pulled through.
Sergeant Major.
Thank you for keeping us up to date, Sergeant Major Walker. And we're glad you pulled through. We were worried there for a little while, weren't we?
It was pretty scary.
It was like right around Christmas or New Year's.
No, it was after. And his brother-in-law was emailing me this stuff.
Yeah.
Saying, like, we don't know if he's going to make it at one point.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, it was.
Well, we're glad he's fine. Right?
Recovering, yes.
It's pretty bleak outside still these days, Chuck, so let's get some nice beach stories.
Yeah.
If you have a great story that takes place on a beach, we want to hear it. Send it to us in an email at stuffpodcast@howstuffworks.com.
For more on this and thousands of other topics, visit howstuffworks.com. To learn more about the podcast, click on the podcast icon in the upper right corner of our homepage. The How Stuff Works iPhone app has arrived. Download it today on iTunes. Brought to you by the reinvented 2012 Camry. It's ready. Are you?
The NFL playoffs are here, and Wild Card Weekend, powered by Verizon, is in full swing.
Man, it all comes down to this.
The stakes are high, hopes are higher, and everything is on the line.
My goodness!
It's win or go home, and every moment counts on the road to Super Bowl 60.
It's a touchdown!
Wild Card Weekend, powered by Verizon. Through Monday. Visit watch.nfl.com for the full schedule.
These days, it seems like AI agents are just about everywhere you turn, every field and every function. But without identity, you can't trust they'll serve your business instead of jeopardizing it. Fortunately, Okta helps you get identity right by securing your AI agents' identities, giving you a single layer of control, a single standard of trust. So whether an AI agent supports a single user or your entire enterprise, with Okta, you'll turn risk into opportunity. Secure every agent. Secure any agent. Okta secures AI.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.